All right, Caitlin, let's kick this off by telling me and everyone a little bit about where you were when you started your personal chef business.
Yes. Okay. So let me think back. That was August, and that's when I started your program. So when I started to think about becoming a personal chef, I thought it was going to be super easy. I thought I would just, someone would call me up and say, hey, I want cornbread and chili and a salad, and I would go make it and I would charge them $50. And I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I was really clueless to a lot of the aspects of how to work with clients and what this job actually entails beyond just going to someone's house and cooking a dinner or cooking some, some meals that they want. And yeah, I didn't know how to plan for menus. I didn't know how to shop. I didn't know how to organize my time. I didn't know how to structure my business and think about the competition and what other people are charging, which I'm still really trying to get a hang of all that. I've been vastly improving, but I'm really in the thick of the learning curve of it right now, which is, why I made probably that post you saw on Facebook. So yeah, I really thought that this job was simple and that it was all about the food. And I have learned that it's not just about the food, it's about having a relationship with the clients. And it's about promoting what is special in me that they are going to want to book as opposed to another chef. And that I'm not just any old chef. I'm not just a person with a bowl of soup in my hands that then puts it in their fridge. I'm an actual person with skills and with personality and with care and enthusiasm for what I do.
So had you ever had your own business before, or do you consider yourself entrepreneurial? You said that part of it's been more of a challenge.
Yeah, this is actually the third business I've ever owned. I've been entrepreneurial for many years now.
Okay.
And I've worked in the restaurant business my whole life, but I've never actually done the personal chef gig.
Gotcha. So what was it about starting a personal chef business or doing the cooking part that made you want to do this kind of business this time?
Yeah, well, I knew that I didn't want to have a day job. And where I live in an extremely expensive part of California. And there's no way I could make it having a 40-hour a week job. And I didn't want that either. I was really desperate for something that would let me run my own show and be boss lady and set my own hours and make really good money. And when I was considering all the possibilities, okay, well, what can I do? What do I want to do? Do I want to do nannying? No. Do I want to do caregiving? No. And then all of a sudden it hit me out of the blue. Oh, I actually love to cook for people. I'm always jumping at the chance to cook for dinner parties and friends and family and this and that. It like brings me such joy. And I thought, that's the ticket right there. If I can cook for people, that's something that I can do and I can do it well and I love it. And if it's good money, I'll take it.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, in the beginning, you said you thought it was going to be really easy and you were just kind of throw yourself out there and people were just going to hire you. So if that wasn't the reality, tell me a little bit about your struggles in the beginning.
Yeah. So right away, I really underpriced myself. I was cooking for anyways, it's a long story, but I was doing it by portion. And then that didn't work because some people wanted it just wasn't working for various reasons. And sorry, what was the original question? My brain started going off on a million different tracks of what I could talk about.
That's okay. So you said it was sort of a struggle in the beginning and you've talked about kind of the mistakes. How about what was it that you started changing that started making a difference for you? What was it that you tweaked to get you where you wanted to go?
Right. So, yeah, so I will say in the beginning that I didn't have a great recipe collection. I had a lot of family recipes that I had been making for years, but they just don't translate. I'm not going to make an entire roast chicken for one person and then a salad that's only going to last a day. So I really had to do a ton of recipe experimentation, really build up my recipe cookbook and do a lot of testing at home with food. and figuring out food that would last well for a few days. It's
Mhm.
radically different than cooking a live dinner where it's like everything's fresh, everything tastes good. And so right away, that was my first learning curve, was how to make food that is actually going to apply to what this person wants and what the portions they need are, and how to keep it tasting good for a few days. And like I said, I was severely undercharging for my service. I had no idea how to feel confident in my cooking enough to actually charge what I wanted to make. And I still don't. This is a big hurdle for me right now. And also, menu planning was a huge struggle for me. So actually, well, I should say that it's become harder. In the beginning, my clients were like, they would just pick their own menus, and that's great. And actually, I have a whole Google Doc now with all my menus written out, and I'm trying to organize that more. So that's been really helpful, is having that organization of not just going from like, oh, I don't know, let me pull something out of the air and let's go back and forth over email. Like, well, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And now I just have it all in the Google Doc.
Nice.
So that's been really helpful. Let's see, what else?
Well, how about a thing that a lot of personal chefs who are just starting really struggle with is getting clients. And you seem like you're in a place now where you have clients and everything's going well. So did you try things that didn't work, or are you working in one marketing route that's really working for you? Or talk a little bit about your marketing.
Yeah, sure. So I do have a Facebook page. I think I have like 9 followers. I have an Instagram page. I have a little more action going on over there. Neither of those so far has proved fruitful, but that's okay. It's just really about having a gallery and something that people can look at. I have my website as well. And I was doing good old paper flyers and postcards, and I handed out a ton of those to everyone I knew. As far as I know, that hasn't proved fruitful. Like, I left a bunch of stuff at Whole Foods. I put stuff at other places. I'm just not sure not sure where I was going to find people, but the majority of my clients have come from Craigslist. For some reason, that's where people go to look for this kind of service.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I have heard that can really work for some personal chefs and really not work. And I think a lot of that has to do with where you are. And it, like you said, either you're in an area where that's where people go to look for it, or you're in an area where Craigslist is not a thing, or not a thing for personal chefs. And that really gets into, like you said, you didn't just try one thing and it didn't work and you gave up. You tried things, you were doing different things, and you found one, and a really working one that is working for you. And that's awesome. Yeah. And you said, I forget, are you in Northern California, Southern California?
So I'm like an hour north of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, so I was going to say it's all expensive there. So when you say an expensive part of California.
Yeah. It's expensive. It's a food mecca. So people are just really, they're into this. They're into this service. People are rich. They've got money. They don't want to cook. So it's great. I'm in a really good place to be doing this work. But like I said, I need to work on my pricing, which is a struggle for me.
So, and you said you are working on what differentiates you. You said the clients in your area are affluent and they want a personal chef. So what you're more having to focus on is setting yourself apart, as opposed to being the lone option. So talk a little bit about what are you working on in that area?
Yeah, well, it's not totally clear to me yet. I don't have like a specific cuisine that I cook. I've been kind of trying to nail down what I do, but it's really based on what my clients want. So I'm kind of letting that follow my lead. And generally what they want is like kind of California comfort cuisine, as far as I can tell, which I don't know if that's a genre, but it's like zesty, colorful, delicious, healthy, but also like really good and yummy and like maybe a little bit on the richer side sometimes. So I haven't totally figured out what sets me apart yet. And I would really like to focus on seasonal menus. I would like to focus on locally grown foods, but that's a whole other level of mental energy that I have yet to commit to. I'm not going to be like running around the farmer's market every single day. And that's just a huge amount of work. I'd love to do that. So right now, what I've mostly been running on is this feedback that I get from my clients is that they really enjoy my personality. They really enjoy my presence, and they really enjoy the positive vibe that I bring to their house. I feel like that's such a California thing to say, positive vibe. But you know, I cook for some families right now who are, two of them are going through loss of a loved one. Another's going through an illness. And so they're like, oh, every time you come here, we are just so grateful to see you. You bring so much like laughter and fun to our house. And like you know, and then the house fills up with delicious smells and everything. So in terms of my cooking, I know that's good and it's getting better. But so far, I think more of my marketing is coming from like, or more of my confidence in myself is the fact that like, I'm so enthusiastic to do this work. I love it. I take huge pride in it. And my clients can feel that. And that to me, it seems like that's a real level of value. So yeah, I don't have a better answer to that question because I've only been in this 6 months, but that's what I got so far.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing too, is like a lot of people worry that, well, why would people pay for me to do this when they can just get like HelloFresh or something like that? And
Yeah.
that's really the difference, is having a personal chef is a premium service, and you're having someone that is preparing whatever food you want, specifically the way you want it. And that just, you know, it's just a different level. It's not the same kind of thing at all. So that's great that you are getting clients and you're really coming into your own with your personal chef business. So when you think about it now, what do you see the next 6 months? What's kind of your vision now for what you want your personal chef business to look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would really like to restructure my whole model of how I do service. So I would like to restructure my pricing model. Currently I charge by the hour, and that is not really working for me. I would like to really dial in what my like package deals look like, you know, whether that's like you get 3 mains and a side, or, you know, 4 mains, 4 sides, whatever that is, so that I can feel really confident owning the way that my business works and not compromising, because I have learned some very hard lessons in like the last month where I backed down and I didn't hold to what my model of service is, and had some hard lessons. So I really want to feel confident in that, in just owning, this is the way I work, take it or leave it. I'm not going to make special agreements for you and this client and what you need, and I'm not going to like fudge my price just for you. And that's really hard to do because I'm like I said, I'm making leaps and bounds with my confidence every week. But I don't have the confidence yet in my cooking to feel like I can justify charging what I want to charge and running the business the way I want to run it. So I'm like at this crossroads where I'm like, the 6-month mark, I've had enough experience where I feel like I'm getting the hang of this, and yet I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm imposter syndrome every day. So I want to get rid of the imposter syndrome. I want to own it. I want to own what I do, and I want to feel that sense of confidence that, yeah, I can charge this and it's totally okay. And what I offer is worth it.
And that's something I think personal chefs sometimes can really struggle with in the beginning, is especially if what they're providing is a service that they themselves might not ever avail themselves of. They're not going to be paying someone hundreds of dollars. And what you really learn is that the clients aren't even paying for you and your time. What they're actually paying for is the value of their time. Like if they were doing all this themselves, the planning, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, just the mental weight of dealing with this every week, how much is their time worth? And they count that as exponentially higher than what they're paying someone to do it for them. And that can really help you put it in perspective. Again, we desperately make it about ourselves, but at the end of the day, it's really all about the client and what they want and they need. And we're just supporting them in that.
that's an incredible little nugget of advice right there. I had never thought about that way, that they are paying for the value of their time.
Mhm.
You know, like if I have a problem with this laptop right here, I could spend 6 hours of my time trying to fix it on my own, or I could pay someone $200 to do it. I am absolutely going to pay someone to just check that box and get it off my chest. So it's a great
Exactly.
point.
Yeah, it's all about what the value is to them. And that's really too how you can specifically dial in your marketing. When you make it all about them and their needs, it's like they don't care if you went to culinary school, they don't care, you know, how many clients you have or how long you've been in business. All they want to know is what you're going to do for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Oh,
Is there anything that you would say to someone who's considering wanting to be a personal chef now, kind of from the other side?
Yeah, let me think. Like if I were trying to convince them to do the job or not, like,
No, just like if they're even trying to figure out, is it the right thing for them or not?
oh, right. Yeah, well, I would say that because you know, I have talked to a couple other ex personal chefs in this area where I live, and they're like, you know, I just at the end of the day, I just didn't love it.
Mhm.
And I would say, like, you really have to love it. You can't go in and say, okay, I'm just gonna make like a pot of beans, and I guess I'm gonna put some chicken in the oven, and I'm gonna call it good and then pay me. It's like you really have to love it and take pride in it. And, you know, thinking about food brings me such joy. Like it's art and it's nourishment and it's pleasure all rolled into one. And that is so, I love that I get to live by my values every day and what feels really good to me. And that is like providing for people and helping them be less stressed and have more time and like take that bite of food and go, like that brings me such joy. I'm not just doing this for a job, like, oh, I guess we'll go into real estate. You know, that shouldn't be the avenue that you go into this. And so I would say if someone is just considering this as like, well, what do I want to do? I guess I'll do cooking. You know, it's like, no, like this has to fire you up. You know, first thing in the morning, I'm like, okay, like what goes well with a noodle salad? Would I do that sauce? Would I do this? What veggies are in season? You know, my mind is always going. And so it's a very natural fit for me. So it's very specific, it's very niche. And I think that you have to have that passion and that love for it.
I totally agree. And that this is one of those things where when you do have that fire and that passion and not just doing it for yourself, but sharing it with other people and everything, and it really, like you said, fires you up, and that's what your passion is, that's when you can really have the experience of getting paid really well for your exact passion. And it's really magic.
Yeah. Yeah, it so is. I'm not quite there yet where I'm like, this is amazing. Everything's going great. But I do have faith that day will come.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin, for taking the time to tell us about your journey and where you are with your personal chef business. I really appreciate you taking the time to share all this with us.
My pleasure. It's good to reflect on this.
Okay, talk soon.